Welcome to Female Voices, Life and Loss, a podcast dedicated to women from all walks of life. Whether you're navigating through loss, seeking growth, or simply looking for a place to feel understood, you've come to the right space. Each week, we provide compassionate guidance, share diverse stories, and offer practical advice to help you heal, grow, and thrive. No matter where you are on your journey, we're here to walk with you. Let's grow together.
Hi friends, we're back again.
Hello.
This is Teresa.
And Wayna.
Yeah, we are excited to be back again to chat with you. And so we wanted to talk about not so much on loss in this episode, but just life.
Yeah, because it's
life and love and all of those things. So I think we talked about this before, our differences kind of in our relationships, and my husband and I being married as long as we have, and February 3rd, 46 years.
Wow,
So, yeah.
it's just mind-blowing. I cannot.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about this a little bit. So we decided that like marriage and love and all those things. So
Teresa's gonna help me. She's a senior. I'm a freshman.
navigate this a little bit, and
this marriage walk.
Well, and every marriage is different.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
true.
what
That's true.
works in my relationship with my husband may not work in others' relationships. Just kind of like, and we're all different, and our relationships are different. But there are some common things, I think, in relationships. So, do you want to ask me some questions, or you want me to? Okay, all right.
So, how do love and partnership evolve over time in a marriage? And what are the keys to growing together?
And I think I talked about the one thing previously, on an episode about we made an agreement early in our marriage that divorce was not an option. And I believe you had agreed upon the same thing.
That is true.
But how does loving evolve over time? I think how it's evolved is it changes throughout the years, for sure. Our love when we first got married was different than...
What was different?
It was passion.
Oh, yeah.
Just a passionate love.
Yeah. How old were you guys when you got married?
I was 19 and he was 21.
Oh, so you did wait. I thought you guys would have did right out of high school.
Yeah. Well, I graduated in May. And then we got married in February.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't even a year.
It
was right away. And, a year later, we had our first daughter. So...
Ooh, that was right away.
Things changed.
Yeah, fast.
So then it was really, for myself, making sure my focus was my child. And so...
It's most moms.
Yeah. And so there was those when we had kids, those were some challenging years because he, was the first love in that family, and now he's not necessarily the first love. He's like the fourth love, sort of. You know what I mean?
So are you saying that he had like kind of a hard time,
I would say
with
yes.
your attention being focused on the baby? And
Absolutely.
that's the thing. Sometimes that is a thing for men, though, because they're like, I know in my first marriage, my son's father was like, he's fine. Like, he can go in the room and be by himself. And I was like, he's one. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, it was, so I could definitely see how that could be an issue.
That was a challenge. Those were challenging years because you're loving, in my case, 4 people.
Oof.
And trying and working towards loving all of them.
But it's hard to figure that out being so young.
Oh,
that is hard.
That was difficult.
Yes.
And someone once told me, though, that you need to make sure you spend time with your husband because the kids will eventually be gone. And so you need to focus on that relationship because he was the first love
Right.
in that family unit.
That is so true.
It definitely evolved and changed, and and I feel like now, as they're all grown and we have grandkids,
Mm-hmm.
it's a different. The love is still there. It's just different.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
But it has grown, and it's hard to explain how that's changed. And there's just a much more respect for each other.
Oh, that's healthy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, this is my husband and myself. This is our both second marriage. So we were trying to come in with a different strategy of how we're going to be better, than we were. One way I thought was to hyphenate our names, He was like, what? Absolutely not. I was so hurt. I was like, I thought you were progressive, He was like, what? Why would I do that?
Well, yeah, when you get married, you can change your name to whatever.
Yeah, and I was like, if I got to change my name, you need to change yours too. We're going to both go through this headache of going to the Social Security office and the DMV to get this name changed because it's garbage.
She wasn't in agreement with that, I guess.
No. And so I had thought I couldn't have kids, right? Because that's what the doctor said, right?
Yeah.
So I made this blind bet, and it was like, oh, if we have a child, then I guess I'll change my name or whatever. Mm-hmm. So a couple of months after I'm pregnant, he's like, yeah, don't think I forgot.
Oh.
It's like, God.
So then you had to go through that.
By myself. He didn't go with me for moral support.
Well, and that's interesting because I think sometimes women don't change their name.
I did for a while.
And then when the kids are in school, then there's lots of questions.
I don't think that's like that anymore.
You don't think?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
They're used to it. You can be in there with a mom with 5 kids and all 5 have different last names. It just is what it is,
All right.
There's nobody cares anymore.
What people's names are?
No.
Okay, well, that was my generation.
All they care if they're healthy and they're not making their life miserable at school.
Okay.
Okay,
it's good for me to know.
Let's see. But it did evolve. I think me and my husband came into the marriage kind of same way you and your husband. Divorce is not all, on the table. My husband said he, that was the one thing he heard all these people who have had successful marriages say. So he thought it was a good practice. And I was like,
it's working so far.
We'll see. But it does 9. So I think, it's working. Getting there. But no, it has evolved. I think there was a lot of challenges. We both had our own ideas about what this second marriage is going to look like. And of course, when it doesn't look like that, we're like, what's this? That's one thing. The communication is the biggest piece that is always evolving and areas for improvements. Those are my husband's words, areas of improvement, babe. So he reframes and makes it sound better. So that has changed, and definitely after we lost our son, it had our relationship had to have a whole overhaul. Making each other a priority, willing to deal with the uncomfortable stuff because we're both conflict avoiders. So it's like, we got to lean into this conflict. Oh my God! And remember that we still love each other.
Yeah.
I'm your person. I love you, and it's like when you're arguing, you're like, whatever.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
So we're still learning. We haven't finished our dance yet.
Well,
we haven't mastered it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's I really do. Even at being married to 46 years, there are times that we're not in agreement with things. And I think part of it is, like you just said, is the communication.
That's big.
There has to be the biggest piece. Open communication and be able to communicate really about anything. And pretty much that is easier to do now than it was years ago. For sure.
I still got
Except for, remember I said on a previous episode that the hearing is so communicating sometimes is a little more difficult, but we managed.
I had a colleague that I used to work with, Laura. She had me crack it up because her husband, he couldn't hear either. And she was like, dang it, put in your hearing aid. Like, I'm tired. I'm over here yelling and you can't hear anything.
Yeah.
And they have been together 45 years.
Yeah.
So
that's the biggest
it
challenge.
is the funniest thing, up later in life, he can't hear, you can barely get up off the couch. You like, you need some help,
Yeah.
All the different seasons, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
I feel like my husband and I have had like all of our seasons back to back. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because he had tore his patella playing basketball, and I told him quit hanging out with the teens because he's not a teen, and they're young and they're faster. He said that was not the reason, and the doctor said that this can happen as a freak accident, and I was like, sure. So that happened, and he couldn't walk for 2 months. So
we're talking about
then
that.
you're doing the bathroom and all this kind of stuff that that wasn't in a lovey-dovey.
That's supposed to be
romance part of it.
When you're older, it's supposed to be where you're taking all that stuff off.
So then that happened, and then our baby ends up having some issues, and then we go through that, and then it's I just like, Lord, you just hit us with everything all up front, So they're testing us,
and you're resilient.
Yes, we're trying.
Your marriage is
we're trying. Yeah, we're both like, let's just put the best foot forward today. So we make 3 steps forward and 2 back a lot of times.
Hey, that's okay.
Small progress, though. Small.
Yeah, you're still going forward then.
Yes. So,
what role does self-love play in maintaining a healthy and thriving marriage for you?
I think when we talk about self-love, we need to talk about boundaries, kind of how we talked about before. And if you don't know your boundaries, your non-negotiables in a marriage, and because I think a lot of us go in there with, especially women, with the people pleasing and not really thinking about, hey, what do I really need, out this relationship. So for me, the self-love would be just being realistic for me, that my husband is not going to want to gossip and do my trash talk, like I like calling it, that I do with my cousins. And so I don't try to put him in that lane most of the time. But if I can't find anybody else, he got to do it. I'm sorry. But just, making sure I'm taking care of myself so that I'm not reacting, to some things that he's saying because I'm not taking care of myself properly. So now I'm burnt out, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed out. And are those things his fault? Maybe 5%, you know what I'm saying? But the rest is, I got to take care of myself. Did you get your exercise like you're saying? Did you get enough hours of sleep? Did you eat? Are you drinking water? But the funny thing is, my cousin's husband is like, food is the issue, like 7 or 8 times out of 10. He's like, they're probably hungry. Just feed them. That's kind of how he is. And I'm like, dang it, that does make sense though. Because if you just bring me a delicious meal, I might just go ahead and shut up.
Yeah. Food is important.
Oh Lord, what about you?
Comfort food sometimes.
Yeah, I love delicious food. Do I want to stand there and make it? No.
I think we're in agreement for sure.
No.
We want somebody to cook for us.
My husband did though. He made some he grilled some salmon, and it was very delicious.
Well,
like he grilled salmon and I cooked cabbage. That's what I did. But it was delicious. So it was really sweet.
Cabbage person. Salmon.
Have you had the right seasonings?
No. Well, let me know when I'm coming over.
All right. We'll cook. I gotta cook for her so she know.
Yeah.
But so when we're
I'm gonna just take her out to eat. I'm not cooking.
I don't like to cook either. I'm just but I do like to see people happy and eating. It is really fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, did you tell us about what self-care looks like for you in maintaining a thriving, healthy marriage?
I think for my marriage, self-love for me is making sure I prioritize myself sometimes, just kind of like what you said, setting those boundaries. And for me, that's early in our marriage, because we had kids so quickly and spending so much time at home with them, self-love for me at that time and prioritizing myself was getting out. I was very much an athlete, and so playing volleyball. My husband and I both played on a soccer team together and played volleyball together.
Yeah, she loves that.
So we did it together, but it was also me getting out with girlfriends and stuff like that was super important. And I still do that. You know, I have my time with my friends, and he played soccer by himself too. So I think it's really important in a marriage and to each have your own things and have your things together.
Yeah, I don't know. We were doing dancing classes, so that was fun. I don't remember any of the steps. I'm gonna just be honest. They taught us 5, and I'm like, without muscle memory, it's trash. But I do love what you said about making sure you maintain those close relationships with your girlfriends and things like that. Because I have a girlfriend, one of her friends got married, and she just like, they talk once a year on her son's birthday. That's when they see each other. And other than that, don't talk. That's just kind of weird. People get kind of weird when they get married. I wasn't one of those people, though. I was like, I had my girlfriends before I met you. I'm still going to hang out with them. You know? And you hang out with your friends and live your life too.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, those are just, I think, are part of being healthy.
Yeah.
You know, other healthy relationships besides just your relationship, you need those other healthy relationships as well.
That's true. I think those relationships help keep the marriage in balance as well. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not relying on your spouse to be your everything.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
okay,
no.
So I wanted to share this because you just said this. Tom and I took dance lessons as well.
Fun.
He does no rhythm.
Mine doesn't either. He tries though, which I like, and he doesn't mind being embarrassed
for me. He did it for me, and we don't remember what we did, what we learned.
We don't either.
So it's okay. I love to dance.
Me too. So I used to be on a dancing team too. What? Yeah, I used to. So I lived in Fort Walton Beach, and me and my mom. It was the cutest thing. So me and my mom would model together. And I would dance. So I had 2 girlfriends, and we called her. I don't remember what our group was called, but my name was LA Smooth. That was my group name. So we do our little dances, and we did shows around locally. Because I love to dance.
Oh, I have to do that too. Okay, we'll go out for dinner and then dancing.
We're going to burn these calories out next summer. I'm going to be great as I eat this donut right now. But
there is a donut right here, by the way.
Okay, we digress. Okay. All right. Okay. So, how do couples navigate challenges like grief, loss, or major life transitions?
I think I'm going to go back to communication.
Yes.
I know one that popped in my head is when my youngest daughter was born, and she was born with a birth defect. And so she immediately went from the hospital in Belleville to the Children's Hospital here in St. Louis, Cardinal Glennon, for surgery.
That's so scary.
And it was very challenging. It was probably even more challenging for my husband because now he's at 2 hospitals running back and forth to try to be with me somewhat and be with her. And it was really, though, stay with her. You know, she can't speak for herself.
Right,
I can. Right. So that's the thing that popped in my head with that was a huge challenge. And thankfully we had family members that stepped in and took care of the 2 older kids and came to visit us because we're not together. You know, a lot of communication. And I think that was before cell phones and all of that. So we just used the hospital phones and the house phones. So there was really no way
to remember everybody's phone number.
I think most of them. I think the biggest thing was not being able to really communicate with him. Because he was at the hospital.
Yeah. Oh, and cell phones weren't a thing.
Yeah, I would guess he probably called me from the nurse's station or a payphone. You know, we're talking.
Oh, Lord. Remember that time?
Wow. Day. So I'm going to say that was probably one of the challenging times that I remember.
Hi, it's Teresa with Living After Grief. If Mother's Day brings you both love and longing, joy and sorrow, I want you to know that you're not alone. I see you, I understand, and that's why I created a day just for you. Join LaWayna and I for the third annual Bereaved Mother's Day. This is a day created for you to honor your journey, to speak your child's name, and to honor your motherhood, and to be surrounded by women who truly understand. We will share stories, take time for self-care, and hold space for grief and love. Like last year, the Botanical Gardens will be joining us to make floral arrangements, and we will release butterflies into the sky while being reminded that our child's love never leaves us. There's no expectations, just a compassionate place to be exactly where you are in your healing. You don't have to do this alone. Come as you are. Let's walk this path together. This will all take place on Saturday, May 3rd at Todd Hall Retreat Center in Columbia, Illinois. So click the link in the show notes or visit my website, livingaftergrief.com, for more details and to reserve your spot. Reserve it today because space is limited to keep this a very small and intimate day for you. Now back to the episode.
I think for me and my husband, we both are just like kind of one of those people that just like do what you got to do. You know, you'll white knuckle it through. So we're both just like, okay, this is the latest challenge. What do we need to do? I remember us finding out that our son had SMA, which is a spinal muscular atrophy. And he had the worst case that we thought at that time. And so we at least were warned when I was pregnant, but getting a phone call that says, yes, he does have it, 2 days after he was born was just like, oh my God. So I couldn't even speak, when I was calling him, and my husband's like, what's wrong? And I was like, just breathing real hard. And I was just like, the baby has it. He has it. And, I'm like, so he was like, I'm on my way home. So we go to the doctor and all of that stuff. But we just kind of was like, okay, this is what we got to do,
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Just get it done.
Yeah. Which, I don't, as a therapist, not the best, option, Take a little time to process it with somebody. Let's work through some options. See what we need to do.
Well, and that happens, I think, with coaches and therapists and doctors and everybody else.
No, I did call one therapist, though. I did.
We share that all the time with people, and I don't know how you are, but there have been times where I have sent something to a client, and a light bulb goes off, like, girl,
you need to do this work too.
You're kind of lacking on doing that yourself, and so you need to,
I can
practice what you preach, sort of.
That's so true.
So that's interesting. Well, in challenging moments like that too, and that stress, like, I think you just react, even though you knew later, I probably didn't do this right, but you just react, and you said that already. You just did.
Yeah, we just did what we needed to do. Yeah, I remember the doctor saying, "Oh my God, you guys look so stoic." So I don't know if he thought we were supposed to be praising him or be in tears. I don't know what he was looking for, but we were like, we're not reacting because we don't know what to anticipate yet. You don't
have all the information.
Yeah, so we're like, okay, well, how do we get started with this treatment? Because it was a treatment available, thank the Lord. But that was a very hard transition. And just thinking, when we thought about the possibility of him being sick, that was one thing, because I'm talking to my husband like, hey, if he's sick, you need to make sure you help me. He's like, of course. Don't we all say that? Yeah. I want to be there 100% of the time. Yeah. That does not how that rolled out. That is not what happened. But thank you, Lord. because my baby boy was the best thing, though. He was the best, But I'm just saying, I was very intentional with my communication.
Yeah.
It did not happen the other way back,
Depends on a marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
Is that changing now? Is that getting
Yeah,
better
we're communicating. We're trying to support each other.
Good.
We're talking about what how can I support you? What do you need? We still get tripped up, because it's fresh. Are able to come back and this is what was happening for me in that moment. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Or words that are heard probably once a week. Because that's just where we are.
Yeah, when I said earlier that communication is key, as you were talking, I'm like, oh, tripped up, yeah, because I can remember early in our marriage, my husband is very much an introvert. And so he never wanted conflict, avoid that. And so it would be whatever I wanted, whatever I did. And it's like, he would not communicate. And so I can remember saying to him one time, can you just talk to me about this? Like, can you just talk about it?
Oh, we're such communicators, women.
I need you
right
to talk with me. I need that. And so now sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, can you shut up? Like, because
you're giving all the communication. Mine too.
Yeah. But he's very detailed on things, like very, very, very detailed when he tells a story. It's like, and I'm like, what we call in my training, like a big chunker, little chunker. Like, I'm just like, give me the facts. Or that was a yes or no question, But anyway, so communication.
Funny. I think I still do. I think I do it too, though. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, that came to my mind like early in our marriage. What the communication was, how it was, to where it is now. So it has changed. That has definitely, the communication.
It's hilarious though, because my husband, I can remember early when we first got married, and my husband had a bad day, and he came home. No, I think he was. I don't know if he came. Yeah, maybe he came home or whatever, or on the phone, and he's just fussing. I was like, "Who are you yelling at?" So this is probably like our first argument. I'm like, who are you talking to? I was like, "You're not gonna be talking to me like that." And he was like, "Oh." And then I started going back off like, "You're not gonna be talking to me like that. You'll come up in here, And he was like, whoa. I just had a bad day. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to start all of that. And I'm all like, if you're going to come in like that, you need to go take a walk or whatever before you talk to me.
Yeah.
So now that's the thing, because we laugh with my parents, and we're he's like, well, ain't nobody leaving. I'm just gonna take a walk, and then I'm gonna have a seat in the living room if I'm mad at her,
Oh,
so it's just so funny.
It's changed.
The arguments are so dumb in a marriage most of the time. They're just the dumbest.
Yeah.
Well, we had an argument because he would go get ice.
Oh gosh.
He was like, "Why are you always asking?" And I was like, "Why can't you just say yes or no?"
Yeah, that's all I need.
So I think we flip it sometimes. Yeah. So sometimes we're the ones who want the straight A to B, yes or no. Yep. And then there's they are the ones they want to talk about this topic they're so passionate about. Yeah. Like in my case, it is architecture. And I'm like, no. Like watching paint dry. Like what? All the moving parts of renovating the house. And I'm just like, none of this is interesting. I just want to see the pretty finished product,
Yeah, my husband's a carpenter, so he talks about work and what they have to do for the wall or this or that.
Wow, so you know way too much now.
Sometimes I get it. I can visualize what he's talking, and sometimes I'm like, I'm
don't.
And
I just go quiet.
Sorry, Tom, if you ever listen to this.
I'm just like, what am I supposed to take away from this conversation? Like, that's what I said.
I'm just like, okay, all right, okay. I just agree, even though sometimes I don't visually have it. What are you talking about?
I just feel like, what am I supposed to do? You need me to support you? Yeah, to support you in this. What's my role in this conversation right now? Yeah. To listen. Okay, I will listen.
And that's what I just listen. He wants to explain all that. It's okay.
The thing, he'll go on for a while because he's very into Eric taught us this kind of being present and, not living like a distracted life. So that's his new like rabbit hole that he's went down. And I was like, I don't have that as a problem, needing to be present. I can do that,
Yeah.
But he wants to talk to me about it because he's like, babe, the TVs you watch, the music you listen to, all of that affects your mood. And I don't want all that stuff affecting me like that. I'd be like, okay. So then he listens to white noise most of the time. I'm like, I'm going to go to sleep. I digress. All right.
Yeah.
Hilarious. So we are talking about love and marriage. So we want to talk about what does forgiveness look like in a marriage and how can it strengthen the bond between partners?
Well, I think it's super important to forgive. I mean, we just we're touching on that a little bit already. And the quicker that you do that, the better. And I think early in our marriage, it was pretty much we did not go to bed angry at each other.
That is so cute.
If there needed to be a discussion, I mean, we weren't angry. We may not have been like, I don't know, just totally over it by any means, but at least there was a discussion about it before we went to sleep. And I shouldn't say we never, but I would say maybe once or twice we did that. I didn't feel like it was totally resolved. But yeah, we just decided that early in our marriage that, there wasn't going to be this going to sleep super angry at each other. So forgiveness, was pretty, at least talking about it. So.
Yeah, that's I think that's so healthy. There's some topics that I'm just, I'm very, very passionate about the family and the kids. I'm just very, very passionate about raising kids appropriately the first time, so we have less broken adults.
Yeah, you've mentioned that before. I love that.
Yeah, so some of those I probably won't budge on. I'm gonna just be honest. Yeah. If I think I'm, holding on to it, but we do try to talk about things most of the time. It can get pretty heated with us because we're a blended family. So the way I raise my boys, he might raise his kids differently.
Sure.
And for me, proof is in the pudding, because, Gabe is amazing. My oldest name is Gabe. And so he's 21 and, never gave me a moment's trouble, never had, what I'm saying? So I'm like, hey, this strategy works. Yeah. But
there's proof.
But those are some things. So if we have something that we just can't, come to agreement on, we try to do a little parking lot or put a pin in it, as they say. And then maybe we discuss it with a couples counselor if it's something that's really, causing us a lot of distress. Excuse me. For us, it's definitely blended family. Definitely the other parent. So those are some strong ones because you can't control other people. And then other strongholds for us are like kind of because my husband just works a lot. He just works a lot. And so just trying to get him to find some work-life balance. And he's been making some movements on that.
So what advice would you give women preparing for marriage and looking to strengthen their current relationship?
First off, it is not a fairy tale. I mean, I know you talked about the passion when you guys first got together. And, to have passion is nice. Me and my husband were actually just talking about this the other day because we were talking about some friends that, had this very exciting sex life and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's nice or whatever. But if it's only an A in that area and we can't function in any other areas, well, together, it's a no for me. So I would say to young ladies, even young men getting married, take your time. Get some counsel, maybe you're not spiritual, but get you a therapist and go to couples counseling first because there were some big things that we just did not discuss, and one of them being definitely for us, genetics, what kind of genetics is going on in your family? And what did your childhood look like? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. How did your parents' marriage look? What did their relationships look? Because those things can really tell you a lot about a person and how they handle hard stuff, how they handle conflict. I would just ask all young people or even older people, just slow down and get to really know that person really intentionally. Because if this is like they say, if death do you part, sickness and health, like this got to be your person, and the lustful side can't be the only thing where you guys are thriving at, Right. So I would just say take your time, be upfront about what you need. Like I had some friends, the wife wanted kids, the husband did not.
That becomes a problem, even if there's agreement with that when they get married, and then all of a sudden somebody changes their mind.
Yeah, and they did change their mind. So what they looked like in their marriage was husband's not as attentive with the kids. He doesn't have a strong bond with them because that really wasn't where he was. So be upfront. Women, if you want kids, women, if you don't want kids, let them know. Don't compromise, on, those rock solid things, don't compromise. If you know you don't want to have any kids, just tell them, just be upfront. Guys, if you don't want it, let them know.
Yeah. I think sometimes though people feel like they'll change their mind. I'm just going to marry.
Or they're not that serious. It's not that serious right now. She'll change her mind.
She'll change her mind. She'll want to have kids, or he'll want to have kids. And
trust their words.
Yeah.
Take them at their word.
And they may change. But if that is what you want, is you want children, then don't go into the marriage if he does that. Because you cannot guarantee, you cannot bank on he's going to change his mind.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And then everybody has such different ideas and priorities about certain things. So values need to be alignment, equally yoked comes to mind, and definitely in the spiritual realm. If you're a believer, he's not. That's going to cause some issues. They're not going to change later. But there is this book I read, and it was called Sex, Love, and Marriage. And it was talking about women. And it was saying that when you are the most beautiful, you're the most vulnerable. And for women, most of us, we're probably the most beautiful between like 16 and 25 or something, That's the most beautiful we're going to ever be. And you're the dumbest at that time. You're so dumb, So it was actually talking about you need your parents' wisdom at around that time, because your parents know what could sustain a marriage, So they're not going to necessarily be looking at the biggest, buffest guy or the jock or whatever. They're going to look at the guy that is consistent, that has manners, that treats you well, that speak well of you, hardworking. So they're going to look for a lot of those qualities that's going to sustain your relationship.
I can remember a couple of relationships, and the ones that I remember were with my middle daughter, Dawn. And there was a guy that she dated a long time and did not want to have kids. And I don't think he still is married. And we don't keep track. I don't think he does. Every once in a while I'll run into him. And, she broke it off because he didn't want kids. And she so much wanted to have children. And then there was another relationship she had that we were not crazy about him. We just sensed something about him. She finally saw that. And I think it's difficult, though, when you're a parent to your daughters, you want them to make the decision. Because if you just say, I don't like him.
Yeah, they run in the same direction.
Opposite.
They gonna run right to him.
Yeah. So it was like, you're just going to have to work on this relationship, because his personality and your personality, this is going to be work. And so that's what I really kind of said to her, is this is going to be work. And so if there's conflict, if there's your personalities are not compatible, it's work. It can happen. It can happen, but it's going to be work, and you just have to make that decision. And like you said, what do you do to strengthen that?
You got to know your non-negotiables. You got to have some healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
So don't walk in and being a people pleaser, trying to please him, his family. Just be who you are, speak your truth, however that looks like.
Yeah. I always talk to young people now and say, if they're looking for their person, I'll say, well, what do you want in that person? Right. And I will walk them through making a list,
What does it look like?
What is that? Who is that? What are their qualities? Make sure you know who that is.
I don't know. Sometimes though, and people take heed, to when somebody gives you some advice about a characteristic or something like that. Because I had my god brother got married, and I had such bad vibes about what he was walking into, and it ended up coming out true. 10 years. They were married for 10 years, but it was. Yeah, I didn't trust her. I was like, you got to watch her. You know what I'm saying?
Her. Yeah.
No, she had lied on something really, really minute. She lied on something that was really dumb and petty. Okay. And so I was just telling him, like, hey, if she'll lie about this, she'll lie about anything. And that's what ended up being true. Because I have a lot. The Lord gives me discernment. I say it happens. It happens just like it.
Okay, can you say something that will happen to me that's amazing?
I can't, man, the Lord, I can't challenge him and be like, perform right now, Lord. No, he just sends it, and I sense it, and I try to guide people in the right direction. All right. And then it just happens to come out true every time that I tell somebody something is going to happen.
Okay. But it comes from him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to be clear.
He gave me some understanding to be able to see it, clearly. And thank you, Lord, because it has served me so many times in so many situations where I'm dating a guy, he's yelling, and I'm like, oh no, this is going to end right now. If you're yelling at me, you'll hit me. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. Yeah, well, always very much about the protective of keeping myself safe. Always back to those learned ways of, so I got to watch everything. I got to watch how people move. And make an educated guess on what I need to do.
Sure. Wow.
So, ladies, be careful. Guys, be careful. Take your time. Because when it's love, it's going to be beautiful. And you will find a way to figure it out.
Yeah, sometimes it's love and it's not the right love. So make sure it's the right love.
Dang it, there's so many though. Man, so many ways. Okay, can couples keep the romance alive amidst the busyness of everyday life and responsibilities?
I don't know if I can answer that question. How can couples keep the romance alive? I think it's just going back to setting those boundaries and priorities. You have to set that intention.
You do. It's so hard.
There's time. Even if there's kids, there's date nights or
I've been bad with
all of that kind of stuff.
I'm bad with it. My husband's he's tried many times to be so intentional about date night. But he works such crazy hours that it's inconsistent, so then I get frustrated because he can get off work at 5 or he can get off work at 7. And I'm like, so if you get off at 7, by the time we get to a restaurant or a place, and then I'm ready to go to bed.
Date night could just be at home on those nights.
We are intentional. We did though one time we were, and he cooked some food, had the rose petals going, and all that kind of stuff. He did all kind of stuff. It's him. It's not me. I'm the weakest link here.
Yeah. So I think just
got to do better.
Being intentional, to make that happen. Because everybody's life is busy.
Yes.
To some extent.
Yes. So it's a new year. Have you and your husband made any resolutions around for your marriage?
No, not really. This is a year that there'll be probably some major changes. Like I will turn 65 this year.
You go. Rocking it.
So there's that Medicare stuff. And then
I'm trying to make it look fun.
Yeah. And then
so much fun with this Medicare.
Yeah. And then my husband's employer that he has worked for I don't know how many years, lots and lots and lots of years. He will be retiring.
Wow.
And really pretty much I think closing down the business.
Oh wow.
So a decision will need to be made with my husband.
That's hard.
He wants to continue working, he'll find another employer, or I actually would love for him to just retire
Just relax.
Then we'll see. We'll see as it gets closer to that time,
Yeah.
which is the summertime.
Well, it's nice to have options. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He can retire if he wants to. He can work part time. You can,
Yeah.
you know, that's nice. I love that. For
Yeah.
him.
So I think that's our biggest goal this year and thing that we're gonna navigate this year is retirement and 65 and Medicare and both of us at that age. So that's going to be probably a challenging goal to determine what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh no. New Year's resolution. Definitely we're always trying to work on our marriage. We're definitely going to have to get back to the date night because, you know, everybody needs their time. But other things that we're trying to learn how to do together is just work on being good business partners together. Because we have a couple of businesses and we're getting ready to open up another stream. So just learning how to, like, you know, communicate.
Yeah.
And be thoughtful.
Yeah.
And understanding and empathetic. Because, you know, it's hard when you're talking about business and you got all these business and all these things intertwined in our marriage. So we got our marriage, we got a blended family, we got a few businesses. So we got to talk about all this stuff all the time. And it gets, you know, it gets to be a bit much, you know? And I need to pause from this business conversation and act like I love you right now, you know? But yeah, so I only bring that up because I was listening to this podcast called Revive Our Hearts, and it's Nancy DeMoss from Welcome. She just always talked about how her father always planned everything. So he had goals for his marriage, he had goals for his kids, he had goals for his business, he had goals for himself. And, you know, he always had 3-month goals, 6-month goals, a year goals, 5-year goals. And, you know, it's kind of like one of those things, if you don't plan it, it won't happen, you know.
True. I haven't this year, but that's a good reminder for me. I used to do really everything: spiritual, relationships, family, business, all of those goals for each of those. Our goal typically in the past was I would plan vacations. You know, we would make sure that we do stuff together, like getaways. And we just came back from a planned vacation for over a year that got postponed, and then we finally went to Disney with the kids and the grandkids.
Which is lovely.
And so that's our big trip. We always have a family vacation planned with our girls, which is
so
very
beautiful.
important. So those are kind of things that we do, is just time away. Because when we plan things at home, we get distracted. We just got to get away. And so those are kind of our family things. And for me, it's always finding extra time to spend with the grandkids, you know, and doing those things.
Oh, that's super sweet. Yeah, I wish we were trying to do some things like that. It's actually, I think we did it. We went to Wisconsin Dells.
Nice.
And then my mom and my and Poppy and Genevieve all came with us up there. But it was me saying, hey, this is what we're doing, and you guys need to meet us there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, somebody's got to be the planner.
That's you. I'm the big mama. We're taking family pictures. We're wearing these colors, you know. So I'm the person that does all that stuff. I do it because you want to keep the memories, you know. So
family's important. Family memories.
As we wrap up, you know,
love
for our family is very important to both of us. So we have a lot of things in common, even though we have way more that we're different on.
That we do. But
so diversity, you know, it works. You know, diversity works. So,
all right, till next time.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Female Voices Life and Loss. We hope today's conversation brought you comfort, insight, and a sense of community. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with others who might need it. Stay connected, stay resilient, and until next time, keep growing and healing.